Yesterday, in an unsigned opinion, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Texas can go back to using its new GOP favored congressional maps for the upcoming midterm elections. And their decision there essentially puts a hold on the lower court decision that determined that the map was an illegal attempt to dilute the votes of minorities. So now the GOP favored map will remain in effect as this case continues to move through the lower courts. But what does all this potentially mean, not only for Texas, but for other states who are in the middle of redistricting efforts? Well, here now to unpack all of this is Ken Blackwell. He's a special advisor for election integrity at FRC Action. And over the years, he's worn many hats, including Secretary of State for Ohio and the co-chair of the U.S. Census Monitoring Board. Ken, always great to have you on Washington Watch. Welcome back.
Jody, it's good to be with you.
Well, listen, I know Tony had you on the program yesterday to discuss this whole thing of redistricting, but then probably less than an hour later, after you were off, this ruling came out. So were you surprised by the U.S. Supreme Court's decision?
No, I wasn't. If you look at a lot of the court's thinking, and particularly with this majority, they're basically saying that, we can't be frozen in a moment of history, a moment where the Voting Rights Act, particularly Section 2, did a great job of making sure that, minorities had the full power of their individual vote. But what they basically said is that the progress has been made, and we can now no longer deny African Americans the right of full citizenship in terms of mobility and moving and being in districts that make sense when you look at the compactness of those districts. So I wasn't surprised. I think that opinion, well, at least the statement suggests that they're going to probably rule in favor of the Texas legislature and basically put the burden on the plaintiffs to say, can you show us how this design, these redistricting efforts are actually geared towards making the power of the ballot less effective for minorities, and I don't think that they can do it, Jody. Yeah. There is the I think the hopefulness of this moment. Progress has been made, and the other thing that you can't take politics out of politics. And the fact of the matter is that political bodies actually design these districts. They are held to a constitutional standard, but the design is up to them. And yes, if in fact you're in California and the Democrats control that legislature, they're going to look at ways to make sure that they get the optimal number of districts that favor them. The same thing in Texas. And that's where we are. You can't take politics out of politics, and we've made great progress as a country and holding them to some 1965 standards is crazy.
So you bring up California. Let me throw this out. As you well know, the Department of Justice has sued California over their redrawn maps, and Governor Newsom there has argued that he started this whole California mid-decade redistricting efforts in response to Texas doing it. So does that argument hold water in the courts?
Well, again, it was a reaction to a political design in Texas. It had nothing to do with the fairness and the demographics of California. I think the chances are that the Supreme Court will probably rule in favor of California. And when it's all said and done, and all of the lawsuits and all of the designs are finalized in redistricting, Republicans will probably have picked up a 2-seat, maybe 3-seat advantage across the board. But you know what, Jody? That is a paper thin margin, and we're in a off election, and what that means is that the burden is normally on the party not in control of the White House. So we have a lot of work to do in this redesigned battlefield, political field.
Yeah. So what you're saying then, in essence, as I understand, that the redistricting effort probably, if the court rulings continue as they are currently going, will end up favoring Republicans a couple, 2 or 3 seats, but that may not be enough, given that the midterm elections generally go against the party that is in control.
Absolutely, that's it. That is it exactly. But you know what? I think what the Republican Party is going to lean in on is that in 2026, our economy is going to be stronger. Wages are going to be up. You're going to see manufacturing coming back to the United States. And that's a consequence of a combination of increasing people's and family incomes and lowering inflation. People are going to be back to enjoying a very profitable and affordable life in America. That's what that's what the speaker is going to lean in on.
All right, well, that's great to hear. So we've less than a minute to go before our hard break here, Ken. So what do you say to people who right now may feel discouraged? Voting is essential. So what would you say to those who may be sitting on the fence right now?
You can't sit on the fence. If you're not in the room, if you're not in the game, you know, your default, your citizenship and your voice. You know, your vote is your voice. Speak up, engage, make sure that you, in fact, are saying back to Washington what matters to you. I would encourage people to be poll workers, poll watchers, and build the transparency to make sure that everything is on the up and up. We can't have a margin. We need to have a margin that's too big to rig. So that drives engagement.
Ken Blackwell, thank you so much for your insights and expertise. Always great to have you.